some people can do it, some people can't do it, and
Can't do it.
it's always fun to be around, you know.
It should be the test right off the top of the show.
Callum Keith Rennie, aka Commander Rayner, is here to talk about this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery, and we take a look at the past, present, and future of the Breen. All this and more in the Ready Room. Hey nerds, I'm Wil Wheaton, and this is the Ready Room, your official behind-the-scenes hub for the Star Trek universe. This season on Star Trek Discovery, our heroes face off against the Breen. They're an adversary you may not know much about, but you will after you see what we've prepared for you a little bit later. Now, fair warning, we will be discussing a lot of spoilers today, so I'm calling for a black alert. If you haven't seen this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery yet, what are you waiting for? Let your bad self loose, stream it on Paramount Plus, and you'll be all set. But first, Callum Keith Rennie, who plays Commander Rayner, is here to reflect on everything that went down in this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery titled Mirrors. Control room, engage. Callum, welcome to the Ready Room. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you very much, Will. Thanks for having me here.
Welcome to Star Trek. That's a thing, isn't it?
It's a huge thing.
Tell me your relationship to Star Trek before becoming part of Star Trek.
My involvement was the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, was that 66 to 69?
Yeah.
And whatever those replayers were that were on at the time, and that was my stuff. And there's a big gap.
Uh-huh.
There's a huge gap.
Yeah.
Between what I watched then at whatever it was, 14.
It's a little different now.
Yes, the technology, the film, all of it.
Yeah.
Is a lot different.
Did that feel intimidating at all, or were you able to sort of like let the role be the role?
Incredibly intimidating. But once you're in, and you go, okay, I'm just gonna wing it, fill me in, people.
Yeah, totally. I get that. Your resume and your genre pedigree is rather impressive. How did your past experiences in sci-fi, film and television inform this performance?
I think a lot of the stuff that I was doing in the sci-fi, or that I had done, was a lot more dystopian in its energy, a darker, less positive world that you were working in. That's what was very different, like that type of energy of having a good message.
I grew up watching Star Trek and just taking for granted that anyone who was good at a thing could do it. It never entered my mind that like race or gender would ever matter, and that's because of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like it was just in front of me all the time, and I just thought, cool, we're all people. It massively shaped my worldview and my expectations for the world. Did you have a similar?
Yeah.
You come to the table with a similar set of values?
That was the show that went, oh, this is what's possible, and you're not judging things in certain ways. Because you go, I saw that, like, that's not a thing. And you were given societal messages through a television show.
I was captivated by Rayner from the moment he comes in. And one of the things that just struck me is you talked about playing dystopian characters in dystopian worlds. From the minute Rayner is on camera, before he says anything, I thought, this is a guy who's seen some stuff.
Rayner's been around.
Yeah.
And he's seen some.
Yeah.
And the longer you've been around, the heavier the weight. And I think that was, and on a personal, like doing this, like where you're always trying to match up things with his world and your own experiences, and the amount of time that goes by, there's things that weight you, and he has that. He has that from his experience, from many good things and a lot of bad things. Mm-hmm. And he has to change, he has to, and he might not want to.
It is remarkable to me, the moment where he makes this choice to go from the big chair to the first officer's chair on a different ship.
I'm not a yes man.
I'm counting on that.
A very different captain. It's a very different relationship for him as he is going to relate to his crew. To me, that seems like a choice of extraordinary strength and extraordinary risk. Like, yeah, I can do this. Other stuff is getting in the way of me doing this job, but this job, like, I can do.
The other part is, do you want to retire? Is this okay? Do you want to be put out to pasture in a kind of gray light of not so hot? Or do you want a chance to redeem yourself?
I keep notes for every episode that I watch so I can refer to them before I sit down and get to talk to people like yourself. And I have written down over and over again, Burnham and Rayner, Burnham and Rayner, Burnham and Rayner.
Captain Burnham. A word? With respect, it's too risky a mission for the ship's captain. Let me take it.
I love the scenes between the two of you.
Nice. Working with Sonequa is, she's unbelievably, I'm not sure there's words. She is unique in her gifts and her ability and her heart.
Everybody clap your hands.
I was blessed to get to be in the pocket in moments of those scenes and to get to know her as a person behind the scenes.
This season also pulls from Deep Space Nine a little bit, right? With the Breen. For everyone at home who has not seen the Breen since Deep Space Nine, like me, not a lot about them is known until now. So here is everything you need to know about these mysterious adversaries.
When I got the role, they showed me a picture of what I'm supposed to look like. And I asked, what alien race is this? And they said the Breen.
The Breen have outposts in this sector. The attack on the Vico is consistent with their battle tactics and their level of technology.
We knew that we wanted really scary bad guys for the end of the season, because you're driving there and you really want a big bad guy for our heroes to have to face off with. And the Breen in canon, we don't know that much about them, which is exciting.
Breen? What are they doing here?
My people have a saying, never turn your back on a Breen.
The Breen don't show their faces. The Breen don't take their helmets off ever. The Breen don't speak English. They say, yeah, well, you're gonna be the first Breen character who takes off his helmet.
This is Breen.
You're gonna be the first time we're seeing what the Breen look like. That got me really excited, not only to be part of Star Trek in general, but to be part of Star Trek history.
It's always intimidating bringing Star Trek lore to the forefront on Discovery because, you know, you're always concerned about how the fans are going to react. But the Breen were a lot of fun. What we do on Discovery is we take something that existed previously in Star Trek history and then just kind of try and update it.
With the Breen at our side, the Federation will not be able to stand against us.
We all just had a lot of questions about the Breen, but what we do know about them, they're ruthless, they're scary. You say the word Breen and people start to shiver.
You're Breen?
My experience as Burnham with the Breen is quite limited. It's from a xenoanthropological perspective and knowing who they are and what they're about.
Do you even know what you're after? What all these clues lead to?
Power beyond all comprehension.
Initially, we think scary, but along the way, we've gotten to know Locke a little bit. And yeah, he's a badass bad guy, but we also see this really soft side from him. And in episode 5, we get the backstory between him and Maul. And we get that he doesn't want to be part of the Breen culture. That's not who he is.
What strikes me as Burnham is you have this Breen soldier who wants out. And I can understand, at least partly, what that might feel like.
Why do you stay here? You hate it.
Where would I go?
This season is inspired by an episode of The Next Generation called The Chase.
Okay.
And I love that.
I think I've
This
told
season
that.
also pulls from Deep Space Nine with Kellerunds.
Yes.
Your species, which I realized I know absolutely nothing about.
Ballad of Krull, Section 4, Verse 7. Krull calls to his war brothers for rescue. with a repeating drumbeat. 3 taps and 4, 1, 4.
Did you do research? Or were you given permission to just build your own backstory and guess what? Now it's canon.
Yes. Or like there was a very limited amount because there was just the one episode from
Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot of history within that, though they were a warring, aggressive people.
Yeah. The Dominion War is very much in the foreground at that time.
That just made me go, okay, take that and within the context of where we're going with the show and what loggerheads between that type of energy and where I'm coming into.
Great work today.
And it panned out, you'd be riding your own coffin in the sun right now.
Oh, but I'm not. I'm right here.
Tell me to take the win? I can do that.
There is a message that comes back to me over and over again this season, which is leadership does not mean the absence of vulnerability, and leadership does not mean a refusal to admit you're wrong.
That's the essential difference between the two, is that he hasn't accessed his, vulnerability enough.
That's got to be tough for him to have been a captain for as long as he was a captain. He's the one given the orders.
Yeah.
And he finds himself in a place now where not only does he have to take orders that he doesn't agree with, he has to absorb and process that wasn't a bad order and it didn't come from a bad place.
Yeah, but just even a good idea coming in, it can feel wrong.
Yeah.
It just because it's like, yep, that's a great idea, don't want to do it. And that's his own learning about, okay, how do we be a team and put principles before personalities. And has always worked through his personality as his strength rather than his ability to unify.
That's such a beautiful thought. That's you've just very beautifully narrated one of the biggest lessons that we take away from Star Trek. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. In next week's episode, titled Whistle Speak, Burnham and Tilly go undercover in search of the next clue. Don't believe me? Check out this exclusive clip from that episode.
Compeers, you've arrived. I'm Rava. This is my voice that's been beckoning you home. Please come with me. I have water and food ahead.
She's having trouble breathing.
The healing grove. Quickly.
Her medicine. I saw her inhaling it when we were walking.
Maybe it's in her pack?
Her lungs are full of dust. A sonic percussion wave would easily dislodge this. She doesn't have to die from this.
We can't break the prime directive.
No, I know. You're not finding her medicine.
Okay, I'm gonna get her on her side.
There they are, Father.
Do not stop, Compeer. You're keeping her alive.
Give these out. One to each.
Quickly, form a tight circle around her. Stay strong, my good Compeer.
There are very few absolutely reliable noble truths in our world, but I think one of them is when a captain says, we can't do that, it breaks the prime directive. They're gonna break the prime directive.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely coming, right?
Yes.
I have so greatly enjoyed talking with you today.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate you coming to the Ready Room.
And me, you. This has been nice.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next week, I will visit with the captain of the entire Star Trek universe. Executive producer Alex Kurtzman is here to talk about all things Star Trek Discovery and maybe a little bit more. You will not want to miss it. Until then, I'm Wil Wheaton. Live long and prosper.